Very good morning and welcome to the beautiful Bay Oval here in Mount Maunganui in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand for this first one-day international. New Zealand up against South Africa as both these sides look to build towards the big World Cup taking place in New Zealand and Australia February, March next year. Build-up trail begins here and now for New Zealand and South Africa. Two sides will be lining up in today's match. South African skipper in the middle. Sure, they're looking forward to it. Alongside me, Stephen Fleming and Craig Cumming. Stephen, you've been sidelined. Very pleasant conditions out there.
Well, it's beautiful out there, Dooley. What a wonderful way to start summer from an international cricket point of view. And a point of interest straight away with the opening combination. As you say, Martin Guptill been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with one of our greats, Martin Crowe. And of course, James Neesham with an opportunity to open today. And a new partnership, and one that a lot of people will be watching with interest and see what type of production and the way they do it as well. Who's going to be the aggressor, who's going to be the defender, the accumulator, or if indeed they both will be the aggressor. Be interesting to watch.
Well, Dale Steyn, premier world's fast bowler with ball in hand. A little false start just to get the nerves, keep the nerves rolling.
Wait on!
Steyn starting up from the Craig's investment end here at Bay Oval. Building up nicely.
Well, be swing, Dooley. You're a former swing bowler. It seems pretty dry, but it's early this time of year. You'd expect a little bit of seam movement, but it does look very dry on the top of the surface. Bit of swing.
Drift, I would say, with the breeze. A little bit of drift. You don't tend to get a lot of drift at 145 Dale Steyn's pace. I used to get drift. Spinners get a bit of drift. But Craig Cumming, you were out there as well, pitch report, and you mentioned how dry it was for early season.
Yes, the first thing I noticed, and also the amount of grass. It was really thick. It's about 13 mils that's been cut, but there's a lot of grass been rolled into the pitch. And also, watch the bowlers in warm-ups. Trent Boult, Corey Anderson, not a lot of swing when they had the new ball. Spoke to Tim Souther and he said it's not known to swing a lot.
Dale Steyn's got the sea breeze coming over his right shoulder. Quinton de Kock there. Exciting young talent. So that breeze, as you're looking at the screen right now, is blowing from the bottom right corner to your top left corner of your screen. So that assists Dale Steyn away from the right-handers.
Well, the other thing that the batsman will be talking about and straight away sending messages back and monitoring is the pace of the pitch. So what's the bounce doing? Is it spongy bounce? Does it sit up a little bit higher? Does it skid through? Is it consistent? As an opening batter, it's your job really to get all that information as quickly as possible, put that into your batting plan, and that then feeds through to the other players that get the opportunity to bat, hopefully not too early from New Zealand's point of view, but whenever a wicket falls.
And that was a little bit of the talk for the batters who were actually looking at the pitch. Their question was about the bounce and whether it would be a skiddy bounce or more of a tennis ball bounce. They can grip in. Seems to be a little bit on the low side. Guptill in a strong position there. You spoke earlier, Stephen, about his remodelling or the remedial work he's done over the winter with his technique. A lot of pressure falls on Martin Guptill now. He's the senior opening batsman. Quality player when he's finding the middle of the bat.
Maiden to start with, 0 without loss. Vernon Philander with new ball as well. Neesham's underway, New Zealand are underway. Little inside edge. Take them all.
Well, it's a different challenge. You've got the pace of Steyn at one end, and then you've got the smarts of Philander at the other. He hits the seam, he just jags it around. And on this type of early season pitch, he could be a challenge. If there's enough pace in the wicket, then he will be a handful. He struggles a little bit when there's not so much bounce, but if there's a bit of bounce and a little bit of movement, he's proven around the world he's a very difficult player to contend with.
Beautiful bowling. He's missed the outside edge. But that is perfect line, length, and just a little bit of nip away.
Well, that's beautiful. That's as good as it gets. Could go either way. It hits the seam. He's right on line. The length is fantastic. The pace is good. There's enough carry there to cause some problems. And in and around that area is going to test anyone, let alone if you're battling with a new technique, looking to get some confidence in the middle. That's a peach.
A couple of very tidy overs from the South African openers. One without loss after 2. Chases a wide one and it's down to Philander.
One thing about James Neesham, he certainly will not lack confidence. Fantastic start to his Test career. One-day game, he'll be relishing this opportunity. Likes to free the arms. Interesting thing about James Neesham, his bat, the length of the blade is actually shorter than a normal short blade, and he's a tall man.
About 6 foot, 6'2".
Well, you get some autographs on it when you finish.
True.
If it cracks, put it on the shelf.
Very superstitious batters. Some width and puts it away. There's Neesham. Got a bit of timing in it as well. First boundary of the innings.
Yeah, it's a good shot. Steyn went wide before. Neesham just came off the ball and it ended up down to third man. He's made the adjustment very quickly here and doesn't miss out. He's threw the ball nicely as a left-hander. He's realised there's not a lot of swing. That looks an easy pace pitch. And off the bottom of that short blade bat, Craig, if we see there.
That'd have been a normal length, put it the middle. Talk about how quick this outfield is. All the trial games, pre-season games. Apparently the ball's been running very fast.
It's really looking forward to the World Cup, Stephen, Craig, that this is the one contentious area that New Zealand have probably struggled with in the last year and a half, 2 years. Everything else seems to have fitted in nicely. We've got the genuine all-rounders. We've been able to finish innings off. The bowlers are coming through. We've got some good balance, but it's the opening batting that has been a real point of issue, of interest, of talk back, of you name it. There's been more talk about the New Zealand opening batting combination than anything else. It's nice from Neesham. That'll run away as well for 4 more.
Well, that just showed how quick the outfield was. Neesham really didn't get a lot of it. Hit like inside edge, managed to get it through the gap. The ball just kept running. Steyn just getting a little bit too close. Neesham looking to play straight. I think he thought maybe 2 when he initially hit it. Big inside edge, and it managed to go to a big part of the ground.
And again, 4 more. Width from Steyn and Neesham onto it.
That's 2 good shots, both sides of the wicket, just showing that if the ball is over pitched, there's not a lot of venom in the wicket. Not a lot of encouragement for the seam bowlers. And Neesham's stride is good, his extension is good. Not quite out of the middle again, but just the power of these bats, the timing from Neesham, and the value from the outfield, as you pointed out, all adds up to hopefully a high-scoring game by the look of the first 5 overs.
That's a goodie. A little bit of drift in and then nipped away. 5 overs gone, 20 without loss.
Cross seam, ran the fingers over it. Strength of Kyle Mills. He got the line right this time, drew Neesham in.
Donald. So Dale Steyn there. There's enough about the New Zealand bowlers as well. There's Alan Donald. New Zealand set up for about 14 months, 15 months, I suppose.
Well, it's interesting. New Zealand 21 without loss. We're in the 5th over. James Neesham going along 16 off 14. Martin Guptill 2 off 18 deliveries. And one thing last year, Martin Guptill struggled to get going early on. Seemed to be hitting the fielders a lot. He's got a smile on his face. Sometimes maybe just a little bit more intent might be needed.
Got him this time, has he? Yeah, little nick through. Philander gets one to leave. Neesham takes the outside. $21 for 1. New Zealand have lost their first, and Dean Brownlee is new man to the crease. Another opportunity. His first match, first ODI since 2012 against the West Indies for Dean Brownlee.
Oh, it's a wonderful dismissal. It hits the seam, it's at a good length, it just nips away enough to take the edge, commits Neesham. He can't drive, he can't get on the back foot, so you end up just cast. And that's the quality of bowling, not necessarily the poor batsmanship. It's just good bowling from hitting a great length and just wobbling the ball around.
21 for 1.
We always look at the end result and think, wow, the batsman could have done more, but you've got to analyse what was going on right from the first ball. There was the inside edges and there was the nip backs, and you're just not quite sure. And to me, looking at that was a great example of a bowler hitting top lengths, asking the question, getting the ball to nip away, and you're caught wanting. But it's a build-up, a number of balls being bowled, and that information being added into the batsman's head.
Oh, that was a good effort. Good thinking from de Villiers. I think it is the skipper, is it, at second slip? Terrific fielder. Off the pads. Half a chance at a run out.
It's close. It was interesting cricket. Off screen, they made a change, South Africa. They pushed an extra player onto the offside, suggesting to Brownlee they were going to bowl wide. They obviously remember that the very good 100 he got in South Africa, very strong and dominant through that offside. Made the change, staying come straight, almost a double bluff.
Can't get that through either. And some good backing up from Morne Morkel. 23 for 1 after 7.
So the experiment with James Neesham at the top was brief, showed glimpses, but he's gone. 1 for 25 after 8 overs. It's a pretty much New Zealand top order, with the absence today of Kane Williamson and of course Ross Taylor. The imposing figure of Morne Morkel. Focusing on him shortly, but Mark Richardson, interesting to get your thoughts on what you're looking for in this side and as this squad develops.
Well, the first thing, Smithy, that I'm looking for is to see Williamson, Taylor and McCullum filling spots 3, 4 and 5, and I think we can assume that. So they are looking for someone to open the batting. They'll be looking for Guptill to go on and continue to establish himself as the first choice opening batsman. But I think more interest for me is the makeup of the bottom 4 in terms of the bowling makeup, and can they fit the 2 spin bowlers in there? Because the issue they've got, so we're going to have a free hit here as well. Morne Morkel has overstepped the mark. That's a real sin in the modern game of the new rules where they get a free hit. Comfortably over. But they've got one issue at the moment that New Zealand need to work through, and that's Kane Williamson not being able to bowl. And in the makeup of this team, they've gone with the 2 spinners, and they can do that because they have fast medium options, not quite ready yet, fast medium options in the batting in Anderson and Neesham. And those 2 become very, very important for them, because it means that they can pick a bowling attack that can cover any conditions that might be thrown at them.
I think they've pulled the right rein today, just looking at the pace in the pitch with 2 spinners, 2 specialist spinners. Free hit. And Brownlee gets it too. Beautifully played. That's the first 6 of the day. So Morne Morkel oversteps and pays to the tune of 6 as well.
This is the influence, I think, at T20 on these players. When they feel that getting out isn't an option, and you can't think like that in the T20 game. And here it is, a free hit. Getting out's not an option. They have the ability to find the boundary so regularly. Now, that's the mindset that they need to have slowly come into their 50-over game as well and find some freedom out there.
Oh, was he put down? Did that carry? I think it might have.
50% backward point. Normally an excellent fielder, one of the better ones in the South African lineup. There is a little bit short again by Morne Morkel. We often talk about the length that he bowls. Short outside that off stump, but was firmly struck. Well, I think you're right, Smithy. I think it probably just carried.
Got to be careful cutting on a slow wicket, because you tend to just throw the hands at it. Your timing's not there, and it can just skew away in the air.
Oh, that's a big trouble here. That's a bad call. They're going to get away with it. But in all honesty, Dean Brownlee is a bit fidgety. He's the one doing the apologising here.
Ryan McLaren at mid-wicket is a good fielder. Quick to the ball. Total misunderstanding this time. Hesitation. Direct hit would have been gone. A good pick-up and clean throw would have been gone, I should say.
Well, I don't know what Brownlee was doing there. He was jogging down the wicket, and he was looking at the ball and not really looking at his partner. There was no communication. That's good. That's good. That's good running, and this is what the New Zealanders need to do. It's hard to pierce the gap because it's a slow wicket, so they've got to look to pick up singles. Yeah, you can see him looking at the ball. There's verbal communication, but no eye communication. It's often that the glance of eyes that has the final say.
Good delivery. Teasing outside the off stump, a fuller delivery as well. Just a little bit of movement away from Guptill.
In a long way, that. Of course, 2 new balls being used, so in bowler-friendly conditions, it gives that side so much an advantage. So, in effect, we're in the 5th over of this ball with Philander. It's an edge, and he's gone. Big, huge edge there. And Martin Guptill looking for form, looking for a bit of luck. Didn't get it his way today.
Just a little bit loose. Previous delivery, he had a go at a wider one. This one was closer to the stumps, not quite full enough to drive either. But that's what makes Vernon Philander so dangerous.
Full enough to get the edge, that was the key there. Got him close enough to the ball to edge it. Out for 5, 35 for 2.
So Brendan McCullum, the captain, has come to the wicket a good deal sooner than he would have liked. New Zealand are in a spot of bother now, 35 for 2 against a very good bowling attack who have found conditions, well, not that quick, but they've worked out very quickly where you've got to bowl on this pitch. So Wasp says at this stage, New Zealand 208, that seems a long way off at the moment. No Taylor today, no Williamson. On these shoulders of Brendan McCullum rests a whole lot now. He is so impressive, Vernon Philander. I think when he finds out he's coming to this part of the world with pitches that give him some assistance, I think he just looks forward to it so much. 2 slips in place. South Africa on the up here.
Well, that's the length there which goes past the bat, isn't it, with Philander? But the one that got the wicket was fuller, and it was closer to Guptill, and so he was able to take the outside edge. Let's have a look. That's shorter than the one that Guptill nicked. It just does too much for McCullum. Too much time for it to beat the bat.
Beautiful seam position. Gives himself a chance all the time, Vernon Philander. That was a fuller delivery. Beautifully bowled.
Little touch there, was it pad? Oh, hello. Philander's very keen, so's Quinton de Kock.
This sounded like pad to me. It just didn't sound like bat. They've got 10 seconds to make up their mind. Too much of a gamble, I think.
It's McCullum, though.
Guys.
It's the meat and drink.
That's over.
They'll go with the umpire. 35 for 2. Let's have a look. Is it bat or is it bum? I think it's bum. You only get one. Remember, that's you only get one review, so you don't want to gamble it. And it would have been a bit of a gamble.
Good decision. Went a long way across. Brendan McCullum.
Umpire Rod Tucker, very experienced these days. I can remember when Rod Tucker came to this country. It was one of his first overseas exercises. Boy, has he done some miles since then. Oh, that's nicely worked. Get the whole way because it was past yes. Oh, well, it just made pace across the outfield, and Dale Steyn in the end couldn't run it down.
Beautifully played by Brownlee. Good balance. Good placement as well.
I'm sure they've done their homework on Dean Brownlee. You can't hide these days in international cricket for long. As a batsman in particular, they just study you about everything you do, all your mannerisms, and he will pick up. So good over for New Zealand, their most productive. 45 for 2, 11 gone. Up and over. That's McCullum breaking the shackles. Beautiful shot.
Wow, wait, where did this come from? Out of the blue. I thought he toe-ended this. I thought it had gone straight up, but that's hit right in the solid part of the cricket bat. That's a magnificent shot. A needed too, something like that.
That's why it's so hard to bowl to. Delivery just a fraction further up and straight over Philander's head. And this one shorter. McCullum into position quickly, playing the pull shot.
Well, this is just straight out instinct and adrenaline too, and it just takes him over. This is a superb shot. In fact, they both have been.
There also was only 2 scoring shots so far in his innings. It was on naught when he hit that first 6 down the ground. This is a lovely stroke because this is reactive. The first one was reactive as well. It was just hand speed. There it was, saw it, played it instinctively.
Up and not controlled, but over. Risky there for Brendan McCullum, who's a little disappointed as he looks back down at the pitch as if to say not quite right. 67 for 2, 14 gone here in Tauranga.
Yeah, New Zealand going along nicely. Brendan McCullum's created the momentum. 2 sixes in a row. Dean Brownlee doing a really good job at the other end. 24 off 26 deliveries. He's looked at ease in the middle. He's carrying on that good form. Interesting how he plays the spin. It's been a known weakness of Dean Brownlee. He's worked exceptionally hard, but he's looking to hit down the ground. He's got a couple of nice singles down there.
There's a little edge on that. Gaffney's heard nothing. Quinton de Kock very, very quickly up.
10 seconds.
Not sure, they're going to have a go. They're going to have a look at this. It was a hint of turn. Got to go through the process, have a look at the front foot. How's that look? No problems. Everything's fine there. Is there a little edge? Oh, I think so. They might have this right. It's just a little noise in my ear. It sounds very fine. What about Snicko? Anything there? Yeah, the noise is at exactly the right time.
Out.
Keep my jumper to just keep walking.
No doubt in my mind, out. Beautifully bowled, great length. The noise is good.
What's Hotspot say? Wow.
Well, nothing. You can see a small mark on his bat on the edge, but it's there before the ball goes past, yeah.
Well, not out. No doubt about it.
Change your mind quickly, Stephen. I think he's hit that, and I think we can do away with Hotspot and say, yep, that's out. I think this decision will go in favour of South Africa. It does. There you go. There you go. And I think it's the right decision has been made. Dean Brownlee will have to depart. It was a very good piece of bowling from Imran Tahir. Tossed it up. It's got a hint of turn, not much. Little outside edge, straight into the gloves of Quinton de Kock. He does the clean-up work, and Brownlee out for 24 at 68 for 3.
So de Kock with his third catch.
3 down for New Zealand inside of 15 overs here. Bay Oval and Mount Maunganui. This first of 3 one-day internationals taking on South Africa. Philander was exceptional at the top, 2 for 20 off 6 overs for him. And Imran Tahir has picked up an early wicket in his second over. A couple of expensive overs for Morne Morkel, just the one for Ryan McLaren.
Middle, please, Jeff.
Big opportunity for Tom Latham. We've seen Tom Latham. It's been impressive. Different times. Still just a very young man. He too has an opportunity. Might force his way into the final mix. It's high in the air, and this is another one. Yeah, it will be. As Tahir takes the catch. McCullum goes to the short ball. It was a good short one from Morne Morkel. Got high enough and only managed to hit it straight to Imran Tahir.
Well, I thought it might have been a slower ball, a slower bouncer, rolling of the fingers, which just puts the timing of the hook shot out. In this case, it got high, and then you're having to adjust with your hands rather than the natural instinct of swinging hard and hitting it as hard as you can. You're having to try and feel it down to fine leg, and that certainly looked like the case with McCullum at that dismissal. The aggressive 16, but Brendan McCullum gone. Caught Tahir, bowled Morkel.
New Zealand have just lost their skipper and Corey Anderson. It's the new batsman. 2 men on naught. The crease at the moment.
2 left and there's 1 over the shoulder. Okay. And that's the middle one. That's middle, yeah. Thanks.
Excellent bowling from Morne Morkel. He was expensive. He'd bowled 2 overs for 19. He's come back and bowled 3 dots and then a wicket ball to Brendan McCullum. Got him. Hey, he's on a hat-trick now. Tentative from Corey Anderson. Little inside edge, back onto the stumps. And 2 and 2 for Morne Morkel.
Wow, perfect line and length by Morkel. He's made Anderson make a decision. He didn't want to play it. He just left his bat.
Luke Ronke is the new batsman. One ball left in the over, one ball left for Morne Morkel to become the second South African to take a one-day international hat-trick behind Shah Langefalt. Yeah, two slips in place. Oh, he gets it full and straight. Ronke's up to it. Double wicket maiden for Morkel, 68 for 5.
First one to fall was McCullum, a slow ball bouncer. All he managed to do was just guide it down to fine leg. McCullum was disappointed. Good bit of bowling by Morkel. Then Anderson come out, first ball, not really wanting to play it, with the toe end of the bat onto off stump. Looks back in disappointment. Great length and line by Morkel. So a superb over for South Africa. New Zealand have lost 3 wickets with a total on 68. Morkel's bounced back beautifully.
It's gone fine, and too fine for Dale Steyn to catch up with.
Soft hands here by Ronke. Beat second slip, De Villiers diving across. Looked like he was always in control, staying inside the ball. New batsman, you don't mind how you get your runs. Good commitment in the field, you'd expect that from South Africa.
It's full this time, and Ronke is over top of mid-off. Might just sneak to the boundary. No. Does very well. And then Philander cuts it to 3.
Well, the interest here is whether Ronke actually planned or it was a slow ball that deceived him. It was a slow ball. He got through the shot. Maybe he committed. He knew he was done a little bit, so he just went through with the shot. It was safe.
Yeah, nicely played. Full and lovely drive from Luke Ronke.
Just allows the batsman to get into the rhythm of the faster bowlers, and I just felt that Tahir operating and getting into some rhythm of himself was creating some problems. Now half a chance, the batsmen get an opportunity to maybe get a couple out of the middle and get a bit of rhythm back into the innings, whereas before they were having to create it from both ends at different tempos, and I thought that was technically a good option to have.
The left.
That's very well played by Latham. Morkel still stayed back of a length, but he got bounce. Latham let it go over top of off stump, showing his test opening capabilities. That's a good leave. I actually remember playing against Tom Latham, and we had Stephen Finn playing for us, probably similar to Morkel in height, and he was bowling very quick, and I think it was Latham's just about his first-class game. And he stayed in the fight, and it was very much a challenge like he's facing here today.
Good single. Very good single to finish the over off. 20 gone, 84 for 5. Just drifting down.
Dermody's pretty keen to review it. He hasn't got a lot of support from anyone. De Kock's not happy.
10 seconds. I was 2 from last time at JP.
Bowler always thinks it's an opportunity.
15.
Latham looking to sweep. The question is, did it straighten? Just sliding down.
Short, pulled for 4. Nice from Latham.
Dumini dropped short. Latham into position quickly. Let's have a look at this LB shout. Virtual. Didn't straight. He carried on. Good decision.
No. Me. Yes. Boys. Yeah, nice as a play.
Just trying to figure the sequence that De Villiers is looking for here. He took Tahir off, bowled the fast bowler for 1 over. Now he's gone to JP Dumini. So they have a plan in mind that the 5th bowling options might be better being slow. But we'll have to see as the innings unfolds what his plan with his Tahir. New Zealand is 5 down.
Yes.
I think that'd be the great opportunity to attack with key bowlers. De Villiers also just trying to find out what's going to be the most effective weapon going into the last 30 overs of this match.
Yeah, and I don't think you want your spinners bowling too late in the innings. So to take Tahir off was a bit of a surprise. Might be a wide there, especially when he's bowling so well.
Well, you've got a team 5 down, so a lot of the hitting power's gone. You're not going to have a situation where the last 10 overs are going to be a full-on attack unless this partnership really develops into something special. So that aspect of the innings is probably gone, so you can afford to attack with some key bowlers and try and force the issue a bit more. And Tahir, to me, looked to be one that was doing the job very well.
91 for 5 after 21.
It's about rebuilding now. A big job for these two in here. In the air. Fine enough to evade backward point.
He's got a good change of pace, Ryan McLaren. Varies his pace all the time. Particularly during the middle overs. He's got a good slow delivery. Likes to bowl that slow ball bouncer as well.
It's a good opportunity this for Ronke. He's been around for a wee while on this one-day side. Probably hasn't set the world alight. Big raps as he came into the team. That is a lovely cricket shot. Slow pitch, fast pitch. That is good anywhere around the world.
Well, that was beautifully played. Typical left-hander's shot. Square of the wicket on the offside. Played it very late. Too wide from McLaren. But the timing and the placement was superb.
Good comeback from McLaren. He played that late, didn't he? He played that so far behind his body. Tom Latham, this is an excellent comeback. It just left Latham a wee bit, but the cut shot was just beautifully played because he didn't overhit it. It was a full control.
Well, I think that's the key on the surface for boundary shots as well. You've got to let the ball come. You can't overhit it. If you do, that's when you'll see those shots just skew away into the offside or onside with no timing. And again, how good's the timing here? It might be just as good, and it is. 100 up for New Zealand.
Back-to-back boundaries in the same area. Off the full face of the bat as well. And again, waiting for it, playing it late, placing it beautifully. Right on top of the bounce.
Here I say it, this is Kepler Vessels stuff, this. Saw this for donkey's years, those late cuts. So he's never overhitting the ball, just using the pace and the width of the ball and playing it from behind your eyes, really, so late.
Good cricket. This time he goes straight. Didn't time it perfectly, but that fast outfield will see it run away. It's a very, very good over for New Zealand. 104 for 5.
Well, that's excellent. 2 cut shots earlier in the over, and this time the straight drive off the full face of the bat.
Yes.
Good shot. This one's through as well. And you can chalk 4 more up.
Beautifully played, over pitch by Ryan McLaren. Luke Ronke played this underneath his eyes, timed it superbly. The value of playing late and letting the ball come to you. Just a clear indication of how he played that under his eyes, got his weight transfer right through the stroke.
This should be 4 more. Yeah, you won't cut that off. A little bit of a counter thrust from New Zealand here.
And it's going at McLaren in particular here. McLaren all of a sudden has become an issue for AB de Villiers. They're putting pressure on one of the bowlers they perhaps don't respect as much because they haven't seen him as much. This partnership now 45 from 45 balls in under half an hour, and the bulk of the runs have come in boundaries off Ryan McLaren. So he's got something to sort through here personally, and New Zealand may have developed the plan of attack.
It's not a great delivery, short, too much leg side, and gets the treatment.
Well, 6 boundaries in its last 2 overs that McLaren's conceded, and it's not over yet. It's just not quick enough to bowl that kind of bounce. So if you're following up Morne Morkel, if you're Morne Morkel, you can get away with it out of reputation, out of the height of the bounce. But this is right in the strike zone, really. That's just naval height, and he can deal to that, Luke Ronke. He's letting New Zealand off the hook here.
Also throwing in the fact that they're scoring the run square of the wicket, and 50-run partnership comes up between these 2 players who also wicket keep. Wicket keepers love to hit the ball square of the wicket.
Over.
118 for 5. Very important for these 2 batsmen now to recognise the situation they're in. They've played nicely, they've put on 50, they've both got good starts. Ronke moves through to 30, Latham's 20, but they have to realise they're the 2 now that have plenty of overs to bat. They've got half the innings to bat.
The other thing to look at is the run rate. They're knocking on 5 and over, which is totally acceptable.
And nothing wrong with that run rate.
Ready. No.
And I think if they're going to finish this off well and do it well, they have to realise that they have an outstanding run rate, but not to start thinking this pitch has all of a sudden changed. They are in front of the game right now. They can bat another 15 overs, that Wasp will look something like 250, at least 260, and then you've got a very, very good total.
If you've got 2 established batsmen at the crease in the last 10 overs with the new rule changes that's been in effect for a while now, they really can achieve a great deal.
Oh, he hasn't hit it, but he's hit it well enough. Just a couple, mistimed. He looked to be playing the stroke with some sort of control, but the timing just wasn't there.
Yeah, got just enough on it to clear mid-off. Imran Tahiyyar at mid-off.
Easy.
So good batting, sensible running, good intensity from New Zealand's point of view.
The way these 2 bat as well, with a run rate of nearly 5, that's secondary to me to the 5 wickets down. That's key. Wickets in hand going into those last 10 overs with power plays available, power play available. That is key. 5 wickets, can't get any more.
It's the end of the over, 124 for 5.
Well, I've been working on this for quite some time. Actually, I've managed to get rid of the old school and bring the new youngies into commentary. Ian Smith has left us, and then comes Kane Williamson. Welcome, Kane.
you do this?
You get the microphone, you hold it up to your mouth. Yeah, there you go. You got it now.
I don't want to get used to it anyway, so it's all right.
No, you got a few more years out there playing first, haven't you, eh?
Well, yeah, hopefully. It would be nice to be out there today, but the lads are going well, so it's nice to watch them.
So what's this injury? Sorry, it's wrist injury?
Yeah, just a partial tear of a ligament in there somewhere, so yeah, it just needs a little bit of healing time.
And when did you suffer this? How long ago was this?
At the Champions League over in India, so it's just a bit of an impact blow, and yeah, which is a little bit frustrating, obviously, with the games here against South Africa and obviously in my hometown. What a scene.
Yeah, that's a shame. So you're out for this game. How are you looking for Friday?
At this stage, we're sort of taking every day as it comes and increasing the load each day. So I'll go over to the nets later on, I would have thought, and yeah, just judge it again.
So you're not far off. So that's the good news.
Yeah, no, it is healing. Obviously, there's a lot of cricket coming up, so they're mindful of that as well. Yeah, and we'll just see how it goes.
A little bit streaky, thick outside edge. Nothing as streaky as what the bowler's making out. Pretty safe in the end.
That's a good partnership, this. New Zealand building after losing those early wickets, setting a platform for the batting power play and the overs at the end.
JP Duminy, we were talking about him, he's almost they're you in a way. They're part-time off-spinner.
They're me.
Yeah.
I don't bowl anymore. I don't know if you...
Well, that's what I was leading to. How's that going?
It's coming along all right. I've managed to straighten it out a bit, which is good. In fact, I'm trying to bowl a little bit like JP at the moment, so he's something I'm remodelling on. Just getting nice and side on, I think, is quite an important thing.
How difficult is that remodelling process?
Well, I've never bowled a huge amount, and my bowling load sort of increased in recent years, I suppose. So it wasn't something I worked on a huge amount. So in terms of having to remodel it, hopefully that kind of holds me a good stead in terms of creating a new action, which I have been in the last couple of months, and it's feeling okay.
Gone, yeah, unlucky there. He just went too far, closed the bat down, got a little inside edge into the foot, and unfortunately here for Latham, it's found its way back to the wicketkeeper, and he's out stumped.
Well, JP Duminy does it again. Talked earlier about his knack of getting wickets at important times, so this time Latham just misjudging it. He played well though, 29 of 38 deliveries. So New Zealand 133 for 6.
Daniel Vettori back out in the middle for New Zealand. Probably not in a situation he would have wanted right now. He's played many a very good innings for New Zealand in similar circumstances in all forms with New Zealand in trouble.
Cover, please.
Over. 27 overs gone, 133 for 6. Through these overs here, Kane, is it about trying to set up for that power play?
Yeah, I think nowadays with the new fielding restrictions, the power play is kind of important, but not the be-all, end-all. So I guess at this stage of the innings, it's important for these two to get a partnership together and take it deep and try and have that strong finish, because with the fielders in throughout the whole time, if you do have wickets in hand, then you can get 10 and over with good cricket shots.
Yes, especially if you have a frontline batsman set during the last 10 overs. Makes it very difficult from a bowling point of view and a captaincy point of view to defend during that time.
That is very close. It's too close. It's way close. It's out.
Well, he's delighted, Imran Tahir. Not the best shot selection, perhaps, from Dan Vettori. He's thinking about referring.
Need an answer, guys.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think Vittoria's a handy batsman.
I'm still pretty straight, mate.
And he's going to review this. They'll just check for the no ball. Not a problem. That's fine. Now, where's this pitch? Is it pitched in line? Yes, that's pitching on middle stump. It's going on to hit middle stump about halfway up. And it hasn't hit the bat on the way through. Dead.
Oh, big trouble for Daniel Vettori. I don't get plumber out LBW than that. Middle stump halfway up, pitched in line.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
So often the case, isn't it? You get a good partnership, it gets broken, it brings 2 quick wickets. Yeah, that's as out as they get. Daniel Vettori, we wouldn't, because it was quite full and close to him, he wouldn't have known how much it had turned. He wouldn't have probably quite known where the ball was, so you can understand that. But he's got to go for a naught, a duck. It's 134 for 7. Nathan McCullum, very handy with a cricket bat. A lot of time to show it here. No, he read it. He knew it. He knew it was the wrong, and it was wide enough to let go. Not a problem. Oh, that's close. That is really close. Oh, was it a little inside edge? I thought I might have heard one. It was definitely going on to hit the stumps. That's the over. No, they heard it too. 134 for 7.
As the native guest, a lot of kids dressing at the post gear, and if you'd like to win an amazing starter pack, grab your mobile.
Terrific over by Imran Tahir. There's the inside edge.
0-0. Now on the big screen, that's what you're going to win. It's a whole kit.
Well, there was the wrong one. Stayed a little bit low. Ronke's been picking him. Like a bounce.
Nice take from Quinton de Kock.
Yes!
Fielding there. A lot of bowling changes by AB de Villiers today. I'm sure guys are getting through their overs.
A little bit confused by the middle. I thought Tahir could have done that job through the middle and kept the pressure on New Zealand. He took it off. McLaren came on, was a bit expensive. Quickly made the change back to Tahir, who, in conjunction with Duminy, both got wickets. Just cemented New Zealand's position, being behind the game.
I just wondered if he wanted to hit a bowl a little bit later on with an older ball.
Why?
I don't know why. I just wonder. I'm not going to question you, Stephen. Another wrong one. McCullum covered it up though.
No.
Just an inside edge. Not sure if Nathan McCullum's quite picking to here.
No, and I think just when you have a team 5 down, I know they had guys who have been wicket keepers. We talked about Latham and Ronke being keepers to pick him, but it doesn't mean that you're able to play him comfortably, and just a couple more overs might have given you more of an idea whether he could have been effective to that partnership. It's 145 for 7.
It's been a good period, even though South Africa haven't picked up wickets in the last 5 overs, only gave a 2.4 and over. Quinton de Kock, 4 dismissals, stumping, 3 catches.
Look, going back to your point, I mean to answer so abruptly with my why, it's more around the way the game has changed. It's all about aggressive captaincy and pushing forward. Taking wickets now seems to be the way you stay in the game. You've got restrictions at all against the fielding side, especially against spinners. When you have an opportunity to use them aggressively, I'm certainly in favour, from what I have seen of late, is that the captains have pushed on for a little bit further, had the more success. So holding a resource back in a safety mode seems to be going out the window. Aggressive approach of taking as many wickets as you can as quickly as possible to keep stunting the momentum of the opposition or the batting side tends to give you a more favourable result from what I've seen.
Oh, what a catch. It's off the gloves. De Kock stuck out his left hand and he's pulled off an absolute screamer. Not the best of deliveries, but a great bit of wicket keeping by De Kock.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Poor delivery. McCullum thought he was helping himself to just 4 runs. Quinton de Kock has stuck out that left hand. Terrific catch. Another dismissal for him. McCullum goes for 6 now. 145 for 8.
The experienced Kyle Mills walks out the bat with New Zealand in all sorts of trouble.
That's it.
15.88, 166 matches. New Zealand in real trouble, 145 for 8. One of the reasons has been the outstanding work behind the wickets of Quinton de Kock. Off an absolute screamer to dismiss Nathan McCullum. Down the leg side, full stretch. Oh, and a good bouncer early on. That'll wake Kyle Mills up. It was called a no ball. I think the umpires have got themselves confused.
You must have been a batter in your day.
Caught a wide by umpire Chris Gaffney. It's 2 for the over. Bit of banter in the background by the South African players. Sliding down leg side. Leg bite.
Well, it's a wonderful catch. I guess the one thing in de Kock's favour was that the ball was quite poor. It was heading down leg side, so the keeper was heading that way. And with his momentum heading down leg side, he was able to push off and get a little bit more distance. You can see him straight away, he's moving down leg side, able to prop and get some extra distance. Where McCullum might have felt he had a chance, de Kock anticipated beautifully, and it's a wonderful catch. Very athletic, as you'd expect from South Africans, and the keeper leading the way.
And McLaren to continue.
Ronke trying to go through the offside. He's got a thick inside edge between mid-wicket and mid-on. He's going to run away for 4.
He's naturally aggressive, isn't he? I think as the bat turns in his hand, he's looking to go down the ground mid-on, mid-off for up. So there is opportunities if the ball's in the right area. Execution was wanting, but the effect is still there. In answer to your question, Craig, if it's there, I think he will be aggressive, just his nature, just the way he plays the game.
Move through to 46 and 52 balls. Again, a bit of an inside edge. By being aggressive, mid-on's gone back, so he gets a single.
You're already starting to see the angle that McLaren produces at the end of the innings, and that's why it becomes quite tough if he gets his length right at the very back end. Don't know whether the ball would be reversing at all just yet, but he's setting to get in the ball just to tail in a little.
Mills pulls. There's a man underneath it and taken. Philander takes a simple catch. McLaren gets another wicket with a short one. Mills couldn't get enough on it to get it over the boundary. Mills disappointed.
Well, they're not going to have to go worry about bowling Yorkers this innings by the look of it, with New Zealand losing their 9th wicket. Another short ball does the trick. Big boundaries also do the trick for South Africa. Big hit to clear the boundary side. Mills disappointed. Out for 1, it's 156 for 9.
Trent Boult come out to the wicket, 9 matches, an average of 4. Had a long discussion with Luke Ronke when he came out. Can hit the ball, Trent Boult. The question will be, will he be there to support Ronke? New Zealand 156 for 9. 35th over. Luke Ronke's done a great job. He just hasn't been able to find anyone to stay with him on 47 or 53 balls.
Yes.
Single to end the over. A successful one for South Africa. It's 35 overs completed, 157 for 9.
Another short one for McLaren. Not probably the height he was looking for, up around that chest height we talked about before. Dealt with easily by Ronchi and Latham, but different for Kyle Mills down the bottom of the order. Got a good piece of it, not big enough. Big boundaries out there. It's a good sized ground, good for New Zealand standards, but not good for Kyle Mills.
Well, the batting power play has been taken by New Zealand, well, forced upon New Zealand. 35 overs gone.
It's all about negating the wrong in here for Trent Boult. Should see by the field and by everything that's going on out there that every ball is going to be around about that off stump, maybe middle and off, and skidding back into him at least.
Waiting, yeah.
Boult does well. Gets Ronke back on strike, just what he was after. Single to Ronke, and it brings up a 50 to Luke Ronke. Very well played. Tough circumstances. He's had wickets falling all around him. 57 balls. Boult takes the long handle. Just down to mid-on for 1. Nicely played, very, very fine. Will run away for 4. Off the face of the bat. Good end of the over. Good over for New Zealand. 165 for 9.
Trent Boult just works away to the leg stump as he's wont to do, and he smacks it down in an ungainly fashion for 4 down to long on. This will be interesting.
Effective. Lots of overs left to bat from a New Zealand point of view, so this sort of shot is a real bonus. Hasn't gone their way this morning. South Africa have controlled proceedings with some good bowling, backed up by some good captaincy and some good fielding as well.
It's interesting, actually, isn't it? What do you what do you do in this situation? I mean, ideally, in the old days, Kepler would have said, look, we've got 14 overs to bat here, fellas. It's an hour of good cricket. If we score 3 and over, we're going to get 210. We might not win, but at least we're going to keep them out here. But I'm not sure Trent Boult has that kind of thought in his mind, particularly against the likes of Morkel.
Well, the only times I've really seen Trent Boult scoring runs has been he's been absolutely smashing it and giving it everything he's got. But it's a brave man who does that, isn't it, in this situation, because you open yourself up to criticism if it doesn't work out. Anyone like to criticise?
Oh, that was pretty awful, I must say. He's given himself so much room that no chance of hitting that.
Could get 2 here if they're really interested. Boult wants them. He's keen.
Somehow don't think the scoop shot is in Boult's quiver of shots.
Probably not, particularly not against Dale Steyn. I still think the Yorker's underrated, though, by the modern bowler. I think if you bowl a good Yorker, it may well be predictable, but at least you can set a feel to it. You give your captain a chance.
Oh, fiery stuff. Really was. 172 for 9. Oh, this is up and probably out, is it? No, put down. Wow, McLaren made a bit of a mess of that. I thought that was going to be taken with ease, and whether he lost it in the sky or not, but in the end he made it look very awkward.
Very unlike Ryan McLaren, normally a very good fielder. Just misjudged it, I think. Didn't move back quickly enough and then didn't get into a good position. He's normally rock solid in the field. Ryan McLaren, he's a good athlete. He's pretty agile as well.
I'll say that.
Down to 122k, so pretty effective slower ball there. I'm not quite sure about this approach. I know it's so early in the season to be over analytical or critical, but I can't help but think that it's not that hard. They're making their own problems, the batsmen. It's not like it's going all over the place or spinning square. They could bat through for a while.
Well, it really has felt like one of those early season sort of games. When I say that, I mean, it's stating the obvious, isn't it? Because it is an early season game. It's as early as they've ever been here in internationals. But some of the dismissals, you just feel if you're out there and all of a sudden you're out, you'd think, how did that happen? Why, how did I just get out?
Well, for instance, now, to me, there's 2 balls to go. He places this anywhere and he gets one, and Trent Boult has to face 1 ball. And he gets the strike at the other end. I mean, if that's the way you want to think that, with still 11 overs to bat after this, 66 deliveries to face. So maybe he was thinking that he couldn't do it, the ball was too good, too straight. And now AB de Villiers has the chance to counter this by bringing those blokes in if he wants to say, well, if you're going to run at me, you're going to run with risk.
Well, I think just like you gain form, I guess, and you gain time out in the middle, technically, with your play, and you start to feel better out there with the bat in hand. I'd imagine the same would work mentally in how you apply yourself to a game of cricket. You get better at it.
Oh, Jesus.
At times it can take a wee while to get that thinking instinctive. 174 for 9.
Well, he tried this time, Dale Steyn, went fuller. Tried to go straighter as well.
Oh, that'll do your head in as a fast bowler. That was the slower one, the off spinner though, wasn't it? Gave him a chance.
2 men out on the onside, a deep backward square, a deep whitish mid wicket for that shot that Ronke likes through the onside. That's a good delivery. Good pace there.
Was a good delivery. That's what makes him so difficult to contend with in any form of the game, Dale Steyn. Whether it's Test cricket or one-day internationals or T20 cricket, he's got all the attributes of a truly great fast bowler.
That'll be 4. An interesting shot, and in the end it was beautifully placed and timed.
Well, that was a terrific stroke. This time, Dale Steyn bowling straighter and shorter as well, and Ronke goes across to the offside and played it beautifully. That's a better option than trying to jump outside leg stump every time, particularly when you try and get outside leg stump too far.
Up and over. Finally pitches one up, and Trent Bolt hits him for 6. And that is the ultimate insult for Morne Morkel. Bolt, big smile on his face.
He went for the stumps and it cost him. This is why I think Bolt sells himself short by actually getting too far outside leg stump, because he's actually got a pretty useful eye.
Well, it was a good clean strike. Perhaps my suggestion of Morne Morkel attacking the stumps will be out the window now. There's a change of pace again.
Think to yourself, how am I going to get him out? If I pitch it up and try it at the stumps, he's going to make contact. He's not making contact with anything short or bouncy. What is going to happen here? Little nick there, was there. South Africans are adamant that there's a bottom edge or something on this. And they're going to review it. AB de Villiers comes in and says, well, fellas, if you're that confident, I'll back you up. They are 9 down after all.
Well, I mean, they've still got one up their sleeve, haven't they? They've got this one up their sleeve. They haven't had it taken off them, so why wouldn't you in this situation? No problems with that. It's all going to come on whether Snicko picks this up, I think. Oh, I don't know. I didn't really hear anything as the ball went past. Quite often when a batsman's having such a swing and there's gear and all sorts going everywhere, no, that's fine. It's going to be not out. When you've got a player who's just swinging like that, you can hear all sorts of noises as they swing. And that one certainly has not come off the bat.
Well, he shook his head straight away, Trent Bolt, after the appeal to indicate that he didn't think he hit it. It's like he's going to be okay.
Well, there's absolutely no evidence that we can see or find within our library here to suggest that that's out. So I think we're going to get on with the game, and South Africa have lost their challenge. But however, New Zealand 9 down, no great damage. 185 for 9. The person that feels the best about that is umpire Chris Gaffney, who made the right call. Shot, push for 2. They might not get them though, it'll be dangerous. Excellent piece of fielding, quickly to the ball. And that means Philander has a crack at Trent Bolt.
It's a good shot, but good awareness as well by Imran Tahir. Got to the ball quickly. Quick release as well, so that keeps Trent Bolt on strike.
Well, what Philander doesn't have is that the other two quick bowlers had is the luxury of just blasting past the outside edge. So it's more likely to bring the edge into play. That's one thing in his advantage, but he'll have to be crafty because Bolt will fancy having a go at the slower pace, and then Bolt's very good eye comes into play.
Oh, that sounded good. It sounded very big. It looks even bigger. Brilliant from Ronke.
Absolutely. A good clinical strike. The length was a problem for Vernon Philander. He was right in the slot.
Well, this is the easiest area to go on this surface, I feel. When the ball is slightly short of a length, it's going to sit up, and that front foot pull stroke would be the easiest one to play because you don't need pace on the ball at all, and as long as you see it, you just swing through it. You'll add your own pace. Good shot. It's a good gap out there for that shot as well. The man on the boundary, the onside, is very square. He's at pretty much a deep square leg. Then you've got a long A lot of space out at the cow corner.
Yes.
2 here, they might even get 4. They do. Beautiful timing. Oh, that was a classy shot. So all of a sudden, this is a good fight back. A real tail-end classic, this. 41 runs the partnership.
One of the best shots of the day so far. That was just good, intelligent batting. Didn't try and overhit the ball. Just relied on timing and placement.
Playing a little gem of an innings here, Luke Ronke.
Oh, that's beautiful as well. That will go all the way. Big over this now. One of South Africa's biggest threats is being taken apart here. 200 up. 203 for 9.
Excellent batting, very good ball striking. Again, not trying to hit it too hard. Waited for it to come to him, Luke Ronke.
Oh, that's well hit. In the zone for Trent Boult. It's a pretty small hitting zone, but when it's in there, he gets it.
Yeah, I might have said he should bat for Ronke, but when it's up in his area, he won't be able to resist it. And that's a good shot. Really good shot.
So Ryan McLaren just missing his length. He was looking for the Yorker, but he wasn't quite full enough.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's a lovely shot. Great time, good bit of fielding. Should get through for a couple. Even what he made the last half an hour or so.
Well, it's been entertaining, hasn't it? There's been a mixture of some great striking, some unorthodox play, and some frustration as well, I'm sure, from the South African attack. They were looking to wrap this up pretty quickly, have New Zealand in the 100s, but with another good shot from Ronke. He's picking the gaps, hitting with timing, hitting with confidence, and bumping this New Zealand score up to something that's, I wouldn't say par, but it's certainly getting competitive, and that's what the New Zealand captain would have asked for after a pretty inept batting display from the top.
Yeah, good striking. Set the field for the fact that they want him to go straight. Tahir's trying to make Ronke hit leg side like that and tie him up on the pads, but he's given himself enough room. It's excellent stuff.
Ronke cracks that through. Forward of point for 4 more. While his timing's there, he's got himself well and truly in. McLaren missed with a full toss and he put it away.
Super stuff. Luke Ronke keeping his shape close to the middle of that bat. He got the angles perfect.
Wide. McLaren really struggling. Really gone for 48 off 7.1 overs. Luke Ronke, 89 off 78 balls. We'll talk about BJ Watling's potential, the way he's been playing. Sometimes you sort of fall away when you haven't been playing like Luke Ronke. He did a great job last year. He's showing the power that he's got, and that's one thing I know the New Zealand team like about the way he bats. Shot straight down the ground. How's the timing? Good bit of fielding by Morne Morkel. And he keeps it to 1. Great effort.
Yeah, that's poor running. From Boult in particular, there was urgency where he could have got back. It was a more powerful shot than probably what he first thought, but the intent to get Ronke back on strike should have been number 1 for Boult down at the non-striker's end. He had to dive a little bit out of the way. From New Zealand's point of view, I would much prefer Ronke to be down that end, facing as many balls as he can on his way to a personal milestone, but also increasing the score.
He was ball watching and dawdling. It was Trent Boult, and it was not good enough. Now he's got a big job. Get in behind it. If it's not a dot, it's 1.
Quick single. Well done by Ronke. That's equalled the highest partnership for the 10th wicket. 65 of 59 balls. New Zealand through 221 for 9. It's competitive, Stephen.
Yeah, I think it's getting close. So sort of say 230, then 250. Sort of scores you hear often players say, oh, it was a 230 wicket, it was a 250, 260 wicket. Well, predicted the first few overs that the outfield was quick, the pitch looked okay. It was probably going to be higher than 250, 260, but the fact New Zealand struggled to get players in and get them set could mean that the 230 is a good score.
Ronke makes that one behind square leg. Should get back for 2. Good running. Ronke through to 92.
Yeah, a couple of weaker links in the field for South Africa, and only a couple, but certainly Vernon Philander's arm is not great. The partnership is now the record, which is excellent stuff between these two. 67. And run to here's another one that you can run to in the field.
He's just flicked that one off his toes. Will it go all the way? Chris Gaffney's going to have a look. Did it go over the boundary? It was just a flick of the wrist.
Actually hit the advertising triangle on the full, I think. Flowing straight into the advertising, and I think it's... Yeah, there it is. It's gone through it, in fact, right at the top. Well, look at this. I believe it'll be 6. Yeah. Well, there you go. Was.
Wow, Luke Ronke moves through to 98 off 81 deliveries. 15 off this over so far. 1 ball to come. Ronke squirts it through mid-wicket. They'll look for 2. Ronke sends Bolt back. Good decision. So that's the end of the over. New Zealand 230 for 9.
Yeah, Luke Ronke knew it was the last ball of the over. Trent Bolt wasn't sure. He just wanted 1 and 1 only. Now, right at the bottom of that board, 74 unbeaten now.
Edged and taken, and Ronke falls on 99. Caught behind, he's disappointed, he walks off. South Africa closed New Zealand's innings.
Well, they got the 230, but there's a tinge of disappointment and groans around the crowd because this man deserved 100 today. A lone hand really on a card. Stops and starts, he really went on. Dale Steyn acknowledges the effort of Luke Ronke. A wonderful rearguard performance by these two. Ronke in particular, 99, 83 balls on a card of 10s and 20s. It's a fine performance.
6 dismissals too for Quinton de Kock. Excellent performance from him with the gloves on. During that innings, he became the fastest to 50 dismissals in one-day international cricket as well, heading off Ridley Jacobs. So the South African equation, they will require 231 runs off their 50 overs at 4.62 per over.
Well, New Zealand got through to 230.
And Mark Richardson have come in alongside me for the first 7 overs of this. And Stephen, good recovery. He's going to have to captain the side well to win this, though.
Yeah, they're going to have to start well, aren't they? It was interesting innings, New Zealand. At times looked like they were playing quite easily. Then they'd lose 1, 2, 3 wickets, rebuild, look to get something going, then lose another couple. So you just wonder if it's that type of pitch that is difficult to stay in on. You really got to work hard to get any momentum in your rhythm. Only one player, Ronke, was the difference, and he spent a lot of time there, and he just got better and better as pressure went on from the other end with wickets falling. He seemed to get better and his timing got better. So I just wonder if the pitch does get slow. To make it slower, New Zealand have to consistently take wickets, and that's right in the first 10 overs.
Yeah, to me, I looked at it, I think this isn't an easy pitch to bat on. And then you see some of the shots played by the players who got in and did something meaningful in the game, and they were shots that you would associate with a good batting surface.
Just wayward, and that's a boundary to start with. So straight away, de Kock, who's a very free player, very talented young man, gets a gimme.
Well, this is what they can't do, is offer up gimme runs. I'll forgive an opening bowler who can swing the ball a little bit. That one, when you're looking to find a line, you don't know how much the ball is really going to swing. Can always happen. So now he realises there's a little bit of movement in the air here, Mills. He's got to adjust.
Oh, that's a good shot too. That's even better. And that'll race away. McCullum's quick. He has no price catching that. Back-to-back boundaries to start.
Well, the first one he just dealt with. That one he dealt with in a different way. Great batsmanship. Straight bat down the ground. We didn't see a lot of swing from Stain in the first couple of overs, so it'd be interesting to see if Mills does get any swing. The first 2 balls, there was a hint of it in the first ball, but that one's certainly not. So he'll have to adjust very quickly. If there's no swing, he's got to find a line and length to de Kock that denies him. A fast start could really hurt New Zealand's cause.
Oh, that could have gone as well. He didn't get any timing on that. It was the bottom of the bat, and he knows it.
Here, Bill! Here, mate!
Oh, again, player out at deep square leg. So 9 off the first 4 balls, and pretty untroubled, which brings this man on to strike.
Now, this is what South Africa have, don't they? They have a relative certainty when it comes to their opening partnership, which will be so important as the summer progresses. You want to go into that World Cup with a settled opening pair, and that's a heck of a record for one-day cricket. Heck of a record. As good as you get.
Just got to get him out, otherwise you lose. Simple as that. One slip, short mid-wicket. Easy. Get a couple here. This is not a good start from Mills, and Daniel Vittoria's brought into action pretty quickly up there. Wayward. A little bit loose.
Think about Amlar looking at those stats. There's a strike rate of 89. You sort of look at him as a traditional, I'll bat through it at 70, 75. But that average at strike rate of 89. I know you dreamed of those types of stats, Rigger.
I wouldn't even dare dream that.
Don't talk about rigor in one-day cricket. We'll bring up the Sydney Cricket Ground. 11 for none after 1.
Well, the problem New Zealand immediately have as Trent Bolt's about to bowl his first ball is that he wants to be able to attack, and for him to be able to attack and bowl aggressively, he needs it to be sewn up at the other end.
Edge and gone. What an absolute beauty that was. Right on the money. Tom Latham's got safe hands at first slip. And Trent Bolt, looking to force his way into the side, makes an early statement.
Wow, live it looked a fantastic delivery, committed de Kock, and it is a beauty. You can tell by the way he's played it. He was playing it quite late. The line from the left armour was spot on. A little bit of movement, which I'm sure we'll see in the replay. And it's got to be good to get rid of a guy like this. He's been in great form. He'd be disappointed because he sets very high standards. You'll see a lot of head shakes as he walks off. But he's gone, caught Latham, bowled bait, bowled bolt. South Africa, 1 for 11.
Faf du Plessis comes to the crease. Pretty outstanding record himself. 56 matches at nigh on 36. And the strike rate pretty similar to that at man at the other end. But South Africa, after a really free start in the first over, have been set back, courtesy of Trent Boult and a good safe catch from Tom Latham. McCullum has gone with Latham at slip. He's got Brownlee at short mid-wicket. 2 catches. Oh, that's in the rib cage, so nice start from Boult.
There's very few batsmen nowadays that Trent Boult doesn't trouble, especially early in the first few overs. And this is a nice delivery. It was straight enough to draw the bat into play. It was the perfect length just to hold the feet on the crease. The feet have gone nowhere. The bat's feeling for it. Really good traditional swing bowler's wicket that. And de Kock looked in good form as well. I suppose they're the sort of balls you nick when you're feeling good about your game. The good balls.
Just the other thing, looking at that dismissal, as a left-hander, look at the angle of de Kock's bat when the ball is bowled, and traditionally when it's nicked, the bat is heading towards mid-off or to cover or to point, and that's when you nick it. There he hasn't done much wrong. He's looking to defend the ball straight back down the wicket, if anything to mid-on, which is hooding the ball, which is a good defensive technique. So it's an outstanding delivery to get rid of him.
White.
It's tight. He hasn't done much wrong there. He's looked just to get inside that and just nudge it down to the safety area. Nips away. It's a beautiful delivery.
Yeah, it is. The key for me, it's not the movement, it's the length. And the length was absolutely spot on, so it held de Kock's feet still.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Yeah, he's struggling with Boult here. He's just struggling to pick him up, both line and length. His feet are going nowhere. You can just see there's a little bit of hesitation as he starts to try to just pick up the line and length of the delivery. He's getting a little bit of a working over. He's good enough to not do anything dumb and just hang the bat out there. So he's good enough, but you can see there that his feet just are nowhere near being set in the right place.
Oh, it's a beauty. That's a terrific over. He's on fire, Trent Boult, at the moment. 15 for 1. It's Kyle Mills.
I have a location question for the two of you. Watching Boult's last over, it seems to me with a bit more extra bounce and a bit more carry. Is there a tidal issue? We are surrounded by a bit of water. Is there any high tide traditions or legends around this game that we need to be aware of that we're not?
Rigger's got the phone. He's Googling. He's looking for tide.
Yeah, I'm going to get on the Met Service site here and see what the tide is.
Reasonably deep and meaningful question for first afternoon of the season.
Well, just referring back to captaincy days, we used to get grilled for losing the toss and not doing the right things, and you had to be aware of sort of the time of the months of the moon and the eclipses and the tides, so you could cover anything, because up here in the commentary box felt like you got grilled on everything, so you felt like you had to know everything about what was happening on the ground, and even then it wasn't quite enough.
Haven't really got over it, have you? Oh, that's gone past the bat. Mills has done well there. Well, it used to be, I'll carry on your theme if you like here. It used to be Trafalgar Park and Nelson, which is basically played right on the harbour or the port there. They used to say tide in, look out, tide out. Much easier to bat. They used to say that, although it didn't stop Nelson scoring 800 in the Hawke Cup every second time. Cobham Oval is another one by the estuary up Whangarei.
Well, it's mid-tide. So it doesn't really answer anything, does it? It's about bang on mid-tide right now. On the way in, though.
half a kilometre away.
That's sandy soil, though.
It's nicely worked down the ground. I look for two, but Brendan McCullum's great skill is a speed across the ground, and he saves hundreds of runs in a cricketing summer with that. I've just been reliably informed that it's 2 metres, this ground is 2 metres above sea level as well. Oh, that's pinch a single here. That's good calling from Amla. But it was a shot of frustration from du Plessis. It's a good start from New Zealand all of a sudden. 17 for 1. Overstepping, so free hit here for du Plessis. He'll enjoy that because he's had nothing free from Bolt so far. Can't do it this ball. I just wonder the amount of times he's gone past the outside edge, whether you'd think about another slip instead of a short mid wicket, whether maybe take one out of the covers. Going to cost them. Won't cost them 4.
Good cause.
Bree Anderson in the deep. Want to do something this afternoon. Out first ball this morning. Just think about 2 slips.
Yeah, I would. I wonder what the logic is, whether it's allowing Bolt to bowl a bit straighter, whether they want to attack the stumps of du Plessis. Certainly where he's been operating around that off stump, and at times he's gone past the bat. Knowing Brendan McCullum's attacking instinct, he'd be disappointed to see a catch go through second slip.
Just the last 5 or so deliveries, he's actually started to look a bit more comfortable. Du Plessis against Bolt. His footwork's looked a lot surer.
There it is. Who nominated it, and it's come off very nicely. In fact, it'll be 2 bounces for. So he decided to take the initiative there, and it worked.
Yeah, it's a good shot. He's very balanced. He just skips down. He keeps his head very still when he's doing it, but it does create some length. And when he finds himself in a position to hit through the ball, he's in a good position to do it. So a very controlled stroke and not something out of character.
Big hole when Jacques Kallis left.
Yeah, one of the greatest, without doubt. The Australians don't like it when I challenge them with the call that if not the greatest. I think Sobers comes up there, but Bradman certainly gets a mention. But as a player of cricket, boy, probably the best. Sobers you'd have a good argument about, but Kallis, in terms of his longevity in 3 forms of the game, with those numbers, sensational.
No timing there, top of the bat. Push for 2. Good throw at the keeper's end, will have him stretching. Get the balance on the throw. Put an extra bounce there, causing Amla a few problems. Oh, big Jacques Kallis fan. I mean, you know anything about cricket, you realise just how good he was at doing everything. Every day.
It's that longevity as well. You look at Shane Watson and the battles he has to stay on the field, bowling at test level, one day level, T20 level, do it for so long and be so consistent. It's testament to skill and fitness. It's mentally and physically. It's an unbelievable record. An unbelievable player. Massive hole to fill. You just can't even imagine how you try and fill that hole. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, in all forms. But I guess you've got to look at the forms that Bradman and Sobers had to play, which was essentially one form, wasn't it? So it's, I mean, you know that had they had the opportunity to play all 3, they would have been outstanding at all 3 as well.
Well, Bradman's a great batter, and so that's why I only talk about Sobers as being the competition, because to be able to bowl at that level and bowl consistently hard, as Callis did, and then go out and bat in the top order and catch it slip. He's a complete cricketer. So you can do one skill very well, and this is the argument that Michael Hussey in particular had with me, that can't see past Don Bradman, quite rightly so. But in one form, in terms of batting, no one touches him. But if he had to bowl medium pace, would he be the same player?
You want to try Bill Lawry? You think Michael Hussey's tough? Try arguing Bill Lawry. That. God.
As much as it hurts me to say this, and I'll say it very softly, that could go for 4. That's not what I'm going to say softly. Goes across the line quite softly. Shane Warne. Now I say that because a magnificent leg spin bowler, arguably up there in the top 5 bowlers of all time. I think you would struggle that. Okay, no Test hundreds. And it still makes me laugh that big no ball and he was caught out. But a lot of meaningful runs. Turned himself into a very good slip fieldsman and handy fieldsman. Had a lot of influence in Australian cricket. He was an all-round cricketer.
Well,
30 for 1.
Yeah, 30 for 1 after 7 rig. I don't know what you had for lunch, but must have been good.
Swing and a miss across the line. He does enjoy the pull shot.
Yeah, just a bit of tennis ball bounce. Duplessis was showing that with the way he was pointing down. He's been working very hard. He'd be disappointed to miss out. It's been a really challenging spell by Trent Boult.
I've enjoyed watching him bowl, Trent Boult, today. Swung the ball early. Good pace as well. Faf du Plessis, of course, has been in terrific form. 300s in a row in the Triangular Series in Zimbabwe. Played beautifully. His elevation to the number 3 spot has really paid dividends for him and for the team.
Got him this time. A little edge and through to Luke Ronke. It might have even been a toe end of the bat through the pull shot. And Boult has picked up a double.
Well, earlier in the over, a similar thing happened. That bouncer that came off slower than Faf du Plessis thought. He missed the first one, but this time he got the toe end of the bat. So that's a big breakthrough for New Zealand. Good wicket to get at this stage.
Du Plessis goes for 8. It's 30 for 2. Riley Rousseau is the new man. Just his 4th match, highest score of 36. First 2 resulted in 2 first ball ducks. His first 2 one-day internationals. Tough start.
Not the first last seen for a long time. Riley Rousseau in South Africa scored a lot of runs at domestic level.
He's underway, and possibly underway with a boundary. Decent timing through the leg side he is.
End of a good over. 8 gone, 34 for 2.
From screen to under the screen, here is Ben Hurley.
Yeah, always nice to get off to a good start. A little bit aerial. Sometimes puts the heart in the mouth a little bit early on, but a short mid-wicket there, but this outfield's so fast. Trent Boult dug it in. Du Plessis through the shot, just got the toe end of the bat. Second time for the over. Boult's been impressive.
And how good is this international cricket in the mouth?
Now then, Daniel Vettori. So many matches, and wickets to go with them, but it's the RPO New Zealand will be looking at and looking towards the World Cup for, because that is something they have been desperately in need of. Such a wily campaigner. Doesn't turn the ball a lot for the last 5-6 years of his career, but his pace variations are exceptional.
Yeah, but we're able to bring up that pitch, Matt.
Interesting to see how he has come back. I must say, he's
start of the
certainly
next over.
looking fit and healthy.
Well, it's not a bad time for him to bowl. Riley Rousseau throughout his career has been a little bit vulnerable to spin at times. So having just come in on a slowish surface, Daniel Vettori will test him out.
Come on, mate. Good, Giddy. Stop, mate. Stuff.
So Riley Rousseau, by nature, an attacking player, plays on instinct. There's no question that he's got a lot of ability. Just from time to time, the way he's constructed in innings hasn't always been his strong point.
See you, Giddy.
It's also tough too, Kipper, isn't it, when you wait that long for your opportunity. Get a one-day international and get a golden duck, you think, oh, got another chance next game. Another golden duck.
Are we going to play that?
Starting to wonder whether you'll get another opportunity.
And also that South African top order is so strong that when you get an opportunity, you're desperate for success.
Are we gonna
so that brings
play that
pressure all of its own.
Lovely drift from Vettori.
Awesome, that Dan. Holy mate.
What is interesting though, Simon, is that David Miller isn't playing today because South Africa regard him as being pretty important at number 6. He's a very good finisher. But the concern has been this sort of situation. If they lose 4 wickets and he's got to come and first of all rebuild the innings and then go on after that. So 9 gone, 36 for 2.
Let's hit the stump, Mike. It's given us a little bit of a fright upstairs because I think there was some thought in all of our minds that it had clipped the outside of the stump, but it just hit the microphone right behind the stumps and has raced away for 4.
Yeah, for all money, I thought it clean bowled him. You heard the noise like the death rattle. Looking to drive square, inside edge, quite a wee way away in the end.
That's the sort of thing that Riley Rousseau has to guard against. He's just got to be a little bit tighter in defence early on in his innings when the ball is moving around.
The other thing with Trent Boult, Simon, is his confidence plays a big part in it. He's got the test game under control. He's starting to be able to move into the one-day game. Confidence breeds success. Be interesting how Brendan McCullum uses him. I'd like to think maybe up front he's a guy who may bowl 6 or even 7 if the ball's doing a wee bit. Take away that challenge. He's got Corey Anderson, James Neesham, Mills to bowl in the power plays to death. Vettori can do it. If he can pick up 2, 3 up top, he opens up that middle order.
Through the gully area for 1. Yeah, personally, I having seen him try to come back at the death in a couple of situations at just a domestic level, I know, I think he's found wanting a little bit as a death bowler at the moment, and that's something he's working on and trying to work on. I'm with you. I prefer to see him bowl 6, 7 or 8 would be fantastic, but 6 or 7 up front, and if that's all he bowls all day, so be it. There's room for one of those in your side, I think. A genuine strike bowler that picks up wickets at the top.
Particularly in this situation, where if you can get another 1 or 2, get maybe Amla out, the De Villiers out, and that opens up that middle order. Very big trigger move, and suddenly Hashim Amla, he does play around with his trigger movement a fair bit.
Just over top of cover. I'll pick up a couple.
Running, boys. Good stuff, boys.
To round out the 10 overs. So we've got to 10 gone. It's 45 for 2. It's the equation for South Africa. Lost wickets at 11. Quinton de Kock in at 30. Francois Duplessis.
Nice ball. Good watching in there, Baz. In the gravel there. See you, Giddy. Catch! Jimmy!
Chance coming in. Oh, has he got there? Neesham, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's there, Jimmy. Nice, mate.
Great effort from Jimmy Neesham. Just bouncing in front of those fingers. Lovely bowling from Vittori again. Beautiful flight. 84 kilometres per hour. Up above the eyes. Excellent work from Neesham.
Wait on. Fits in there, Baz. Great movement in there, Baz.
You mentioned, Simon, about the ball being above the eyes. Daniel Vittori's already shown us he's still got that ability. Neesham just short. First ball of the over was 95 Ks. He's got it down to 81, that last one.
Oh, ball.
Excellent stuff from Vittori. It's 52 for 2.
Oh, ball.
Slowed that one up.
Good night.
It's like he sort of
You mate.
gives Nathan confidence knowing that Dan's at the other end. He's did a very good job in the last 12, 14 months as being the #1 spinner.
Ball.
They created good pressure at both ends.
Good going, Nate. That's third. Come on, lads. Get us something in there, Gup.
I think it's good for Nathan McCullum too, isn't it? Just the added pressure. Keeps him right on his toes now. Tough decisions for Mike Hesson and for Brendan McCullum. They come to only want to play one spinner or come to the position where they need to only play one spinner. It's going to be a tough decisions to make.
Good cut. Work out. Run 'em, boys. Good stuff.
Tough conversation for the skipper. Either go to your senior pro or your brother. It's probably easy just telling your brother he's not playing, wouldn't it?
I would have thought so. You've told him a few things before, I'm sure.
Go!
Extra cover.
Strike
Chase for Corey Anderson. He's got a great arm. Just a little bit off balance though. End of the 14th now, and it is 58 for 2.
I'll add this fellow into the mix as well as Jimmy Neesham. So he's got a fair old arsenal to work with today. The fellow in the middle to come back, and the one on the left bursting to get out there, Mitch McClenaghan. So it's a healthy situation in terms of numbers. Just getting games under belts and confidence levels up.
The other thing is getting combinations. You mentioned, Smithy, about McCullum and Vittori bowling together, probably the first time in a one-day international, or for some time they've done it. So building these relationships, we talk about batting relationships, the opening pair developing a partnership. Not dissimilar here, actually understanding who's at their best at what stage, who bowls well with who, what's the best time to bring on this bowler, the skill set. You sort of have a rough idea of what they bring to the table, but it's bowling with who brings out the best in them.
He looks good, this fella Rousseau. I've got to confess, this is the first time I have seen him bat. So I stood outside and just looked at his technique and looked at his manner. He's looked confident from the outset, put bad balls away. He seems to open himself up and give himself options very early on, and that was short of a length. I don't think that's where you want to bowl to him. Edge and gone. That's what it can do. Pressure, pulling back a run rate, and Rousseau driving expansively has gifted Anderson his first wicket.
Well, there's my wicket. I got one. Got to give Anderson a bowl. Not there to drive. It was too expensive. That's why it flew away nicely. Nicely taken. Reverse cut. So Rousseau goes for 26, and that's an important breakthrough for New Zealand. 73 for 3.
Last wicket, that of Rousseau.
Well, slip in place, that's that positive nature of teams trying to take wickets through the middle. They know the value of taking a wicket. Anderson obliged, good delivery. Once again, you ask questions about this pitch. Looking at the South African scorecard, it's very similar to New Zealand. A couple of starts, but just when you think things are getting comfortable, bang, a wicket. Certainly the pressure that New Zealand are applying is not dissimilar to the way South Africa conducted themselves in their first 20 overs.
Now, this is a partnership that has to be broken.
Yeah, I'd suggest he wants to get one of these guys out pretty quickly, because if these two get in and bat any length of time, they'll complete this game for South Africa pretty comfortably.
Well, de Villiers in particular can make many captains look silly with the way he manipulates the ball. That's his great skill, is his ability to move across the crease, to manipulate the ball in all areas of the ground where you don't have field as he operates. It makes a big difference when you're trying to attack. You've got to go on the defence because he scores quite freely.
Chris, excellent, mate. Real good, lad. Good code.
Method in which he does that can be quite unorthodox.
He just might be able to hear the noise, the chirp, some people call it, of the New Zealand players out there. They know they're in the game. They know they still need another wicket. They know they've got a crucial partnership to break here. They're playing against two very good players, de Villiers and Amler. Just the noise they're making, to me, suggests they're very aware of the situation they're in right now. They've got to keep it up tempo. Got to work as hard as they can to ensure that a partnership doesn't eventuate with these two players.
Reminds me of that innings Amler played, I think, in Perth. He actually was going all the way outside off stump to the Australians. He absolutely dominated them. They didn't know where to bowl.
That was incredible. That was the second innings of that test match in Perth. The pitch was very flat, admittedly, but it was Hashim Amla at his best. He took the game away from Australia.
Strong pull shot. Nisham should get round, keep it to one. New Zealand fielding's been good today. They pride themselves on it. Both teams do.
Yeah, way back early in Hashim Amla's test career, he had a few problems with the short ball. He had a few problems with his backlift, but he refined that. He tidied that up, and what we have now is a finished article. Lots of experience, good technique. But his biggest asset for me is still his powers of concentration.
Yeah, this is a critical time for New Zealand. They need another wicket. The longer these two bat, following on what you said, Kepler, about their concentration, they'll take their game away very quickly. Brendan McCullum was aware of that. It's the end of the over. 4 off it. South Africa 92 for 3.
Created a bit of a talking point, I guess, these 3 matches for Kyle Mills. The name we didn't mention earlier when we were talking about teams and things was Tim Southey. He's out today with a little niggle. These are big games for Kyle Mills to prove that he's still up to it. Bolt's making a play, so he's probably pushing at Mitchell McClenaghan, chomping at Mitchell McClenaghan's heels, who's been New Zealand's best wicket taker as far as one-day international cricket's concerned in the last 18 months. Bolt is nipping at his heels. You've got Tim Southey, and if the New Zealand setup continue to want to play Vettori and McCullum in the same matches, there's only room for 2 genuine seamers. And then they'll use Nisham and Anderson.
Looking ahead to the World Cup, Simon, looking at our grounds, I find it hard to play 2 genuine spinners. Vettori and McCullum, it'll really change the balance in what's been successful in the past. Not saying it won't happen. Hence the reason they are looking to open with Nisham. Haven't seen Neesham at the bowling crease yet, so at the moment he's playing as a genuine batsman. Played on, he's got the breakthrough. We're just talking about the pace. Umla's tried to run it down to third man, and Mills makes the crucial breakthrough that New Zealand needed.
Well, that's a massive breakthrough for New Zealand, coming at exactly the right time. Hashim Amla will be a little bit disappointed with this stroke. Try to run this down to third man. It was a tentative shot in the end, came off that inside edge. He just didn't get himself into a good position as far as his footwork's concerned. So Amla goes, he's gone for 38. South Africa 97 for 4.
JP Duminy, he walks out to the crease, 127 games, 38.82, strike rate of 83. Very good record. And he's come about because Kyle Mills has made the breakthrough. He's got rid of the dangerous Hashim Amla just when New Zealand needed the wicket. It's the end of a successful over for Kyle Mills. South Africa 97 for 4.
Successful over for the Black Caps.
It was a little off cutter, I think, from Kyle Mills. Just looking to dab it down inside edge, back onto that off stump. See what he was trying to do. Just the lack of pace on it. He got the under edge back onto the stumps. A big breakthrough.
Just a little bit more pressure now on AB de Villiers to bat for a while to come yet, while another partnership, or he tries to establish a partnership with JP Duminy in next, will be Ryan McLaren. And Philander, both of them bat. They'll stay in bats as well. And Morkel and Tahir. But New Zealand get another wicket now within the next 5 overs or so. They may well feel that they've opened the door.
Oh, that's close, very close, loud. Not out, shake of the head. Brendan McCallum's gone to Nathan. They're talking about height.
10 seconds. No?
You're talking about the height, the bounce. He really slowed it up.
10 seconds. Nice, bowling, nice.
Decided against going for the review. Nathan McCallum was keen. Might have been Luke Ronke in the end that decided. Might have been the bounce factor.
Oh!
Another inside edge. Yeah, he really slowed it up. It was 81 Ks, Nathan McCallum. It's hit him in line. It's hit him on the knee roll. It's clipping the top of middle stump by the look of that.
Yeah, so would have stayed with the on-field. Good decision not to review. He wouldn't have blamed them for reviewing it. It did look fantastic. It looked straight, looked like a good shout, and I think I heard Rod Tucker say to Nathan McCallum, I was worried about the bounce as he walked back past him, so a good decision as well.
Oh, get it, Gup.
Germany looking to use his feet.
There, Gup.
Be nice and positive. It just looked good. It really did. Looked like out the inside of the pad.
Get it. Oh, mate, we'll bowl. Great stuff.
The end of the 26th over, 4 off it. South Africa 101 for 4. Villiers showing us liking to use his feet. McCallum again, he gets in so close when he's fielding that short cover.
Yeah, both he and Martin Guptill, I was just watching that ball out the window and they were so tight. No opportunity to take one for AB de Villiers.
I remember playing with Brendan McCallum once, and he always talked about if the bowlers are bowling well, it allowed him to use one fielder as a drifter. In other words, he could put him wherever he wanted. It could simply be just to make the batter think something else is going on. See that happening at the moment.
And I think it's where the new rules allow you to be a little bit more aggressive with that fifth man. Because in the old days, the 4 men inside the circle, 5 outside, it became standard, didn't it? Whereas now you have that option for a slip, a short cover, a short mid-wicket. You can play around with it as a captain, be quite aggressive with that so-called extra man.
Yeah, when you've got reflexes as quick as Brendan, he can get close, he cuts the angles down. The key is he can actually stop and be quick enough.
Well, I like what he's doing, because too often in one-day cricket the single is conceded too easily and not enough pressure is created, but it's good from New Zealand.
Yeah, there'll be challenges now. I mean, first game in a long time at this intensity for the fielding group, so it's just getting that match fitness underway.
Yes.
Brendan McCullum will be happy. 3.2 runs and over the last 5 overs. They've picked up the wicket of Armlet. They'll be trying to just squeeze to get that run rate up a little bit higher.
Just thinking the same thing. They've got it nearly up to 6 and over required. Wicket will do it for them.
Good. So McCullum nearly got down to it again. A good bit of backing up. Could have been an overthrow.
Tom Latham with the throw and Nathan McCullum backing up. Fantastic work.
The game's just changed so much. I've been watching a lot of highlights of the 92 World Cup. And just, you know, the difference in the size of bats, the way proactive, the field, the movement. Just become a lot more explosive. It's 5 off the over, 29 gone, 113 for 4.
So Daniel Wattori comes back into the attack, and when Daniel Wattori comes in and works with Brendan McCullum, you look at pressure on run rate required again. New Zealand will try and get that up above a runner ball. These days it's more achievable because of the volume of cricket that is played, and of course the advent of IPL cricket. But when it gets to 7 and over, even that young man would struggle with that big bat he's got.
Ball. Good stuff. Start there, get in.
Feel free to chip in, Stephen, anytime you like.
There's a lot going on up here, Smithy. I'm struggling to multitask.
Hello.
Guests everywhere, but it's
There, Dan.
interesting time of the game. No doubt about that. The slow bowlers in operation again, doing a great job.
Ball.
Well, pleased to say, Stephen, we've been joined. You mentioned things going up. We've had a bit of musical chairs, and David Miller's come from to join us from the South African squad, which is wonderful that he's going to give up some time this afternoon so we can talk a wee bit more about his team and opportunity, David, to get some experience in New Zealand conditions. Not for you today, but hopefully in the next match or two.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on studio here. First time to be honest, for me. So it's something new, but really good being here in New Zealand. Taken a couple of days to get into the whole time difference, but really been good so far, and the weather's been great today.
Well, you've come to the coast. It's a bit Port Elizabeth-like. It's tried to make you feel at home. It's quite pleasant.
Yeah, I'm actually from Durban, pretty similar to PE, so it feels a lot like home here. We ride on the beach there, our little apartments, so it's been a great stay so far, and looking forward to maybe getting out and surfing some off day, maybe tomorrow.
Seriously, a surfer as well. It's 122 for 4. So David, these 3 games, what are you hoping to achieve from a squad point of view, apart from obviously winning them?
Yeah, I mean, the results always the biggest thing. We'd like to come out on top, but leading up to the World Cup, I think it's massive. Obviously, being here and in Australia, so for us, we just trying to get used to the conditions as much as we can and as quickly as we can as well. I think it's just about ironing out a few sort of game plans, strategies that we're wanting to go according to, and I think that's maybe the biggest thing for now.
What have the guys said about the pitch? Slowish by South African standards?
I think it is a little bit slow. There hasn't been a lot of turn today, but it's been relatively good wicket, I think. As you say, a little bit on the slow side, but I mean, it's great facilities here. Outfield's beautiful, and it's been a good day so far. Hopefully it gets a little bit closer towards the end.
One of the more important questions, you share a dressing room with Faf du Plessis, who I know has a massive amount of mirror time. How do you share the mirror time when you've got such a princess like Faf in your side?
I actually don't see a lot of myself in the mirror when I'm in the Faf's team. He manages to take full control of the mirrors.
Wait. Nice there, Dan. Nice, Dan. Good, Mattress. Get that.
You know, that's quite ironic coming from Stephen, that question. David.
Dan.
Great fielding. It's one of the things. That's close. My word, that's closer than you think, because Guptill is so quick. New Zealand are trying to squeeze here inside this circle.
Well, we talked about fielding being a key component with both of these sides. South Africa really have led the way, but New Zealand a lot of times have stayed in games because of their fielding. Here could be another example. In this case, Duminy home. But once again, pressure is mounting on the batters just because of that pressure and that squeeze in the inner circle. It's creating a little bit of doubt. These guys are good runners. AB de Villiers is one of the quickest in the world. JP Duminy played a lot of cricket, being put under pressure with good, accurate fielding.
For the fielding from Martin Guptill. Not out the call.
The other thing, of course, we'll see the not out sign here. Specsavers. IPL. How'd you enjoy that?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, to be honest. It's been a couple of years for me, and I've really enjoyed the experience over there. There's so many different things that I enjoy about it. Obviously, the experience being in the change room with certain sort of heroes, idols that I looked up towards while being at school and a youngster, along like Adam Gilchrist, David Hussey, George Bailey now, Sewag, just to name a few. So I mean, just spending time with them off the field, getting to know them has been a huge sort of honour towards me, and a great sort of highlight in my career so far. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there playing in front of thousands of people. The passion that they have over there in India is phenomenal.
You haven't talked about the big show, Liam Maxwell, either. He's a pretty big component of your side.
Yeah, he was. He still is. He's a massive player. Plays with a lot of freedom. Has a lot of fun on the field, which I really enjoy about that. And it's always playing with a smile. So that's how he goes about things.
Run rate required sits at 6.31 runs per over. New Zealanders are trying to strangle for a mistake here. Of course, it doesn't stop here for you, David. The squad moves very quickly to Australia.
Yeah, we got, I think it's a month in Australia, a couple 2020s and then 5 ODIs. So I think, it doesn't stop, as you say, but, I think the guys are really ready to go. It's my first time in New Zealand and Australia, so I'm really excited about the fact that I'm going to be playing there. And, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of guys to put up their hands.
I think it'd do the world of confidence too, knowing that when you come to these two countries in 4 months' time, you've been able to beat these sides on more than one occasion, maybe. I think you've got something. Well, that's interesting. McCullum thinks maybe he hit it into his foot and it bounced up. Maybe in jest with Chris Gaffney. They're going to have a look at this. They're going to come together on this. Might get you two guys to talk us through this, because if it's out, it's very unusual.
Well, it will be unusual, and often you find the balls hit the ground to get that type of height, but McCullum's an optimist. He's a captain. He's trying to get the wicket. And Chris Gaffney, I think, is from Dunedin, so there's a good synergy there and a reason why. So they'll have a look just to tick it off. But
so is this a request from McCullum? Is this an official request now? It's a fair delivery. So what we're looking for here is Duminy coming down the wicket and hitting the ball into his foot, maybe. It's hit straight into the ground, hasn't he? Sorry, Brendan, it's your shout. You think you're going to get away with that? David, what do you make of that?
I think, as you say, optimist is what we can say, but I think the umpire's there. I mean, you can clearly see that it bounced, which is not a... I think they're just double-checking.
Yeah, it's sort of almost embarrassed Chris Gaffney into... I don't think he wanted to do anything about it, but in the end he sort of felt like he had to, just in case, and of course that'll be the end result. So 100 to win, 93 balls remaining. And Vettori trying to just weave a web here.
Nice stuff.
Very important to us that Daniel Vettori does well. David, do you speak much about him in your meetings?
Doing it, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, he's showed over the many years that he's phenomenal in his own right. You know, he's just got to be careful with him. I mean, he hasn't played for some time now, but you know, he's definitely got loads of experience, and I think it's, as he's shown today, is just doesn't take long to get back into it. So he's definitely a big, wouldn't say threat, but you know, he's a big component in their side. So you know, we just got to have our game plans towards him and just doing the right thing against him.
Picking him off, 4 singles in that over from Vettori, and South Africa are 134 for 4. And that's been outstanding to have a little bit insight to the South African dressing room. You can sense they're pretty confident about what they've got to do here this afternoon with AB de Villiers at the crease. Duminy in support. Upstairs now for us, Craig Cumming, Kepler Vessels, I'm not sure how confident he is, and Simon Dool.
Thanks, Smithy. I don't think Kepler ever lacked confidence.
Giddy.
Finding out what's going on in the middle. It's the thing. It's just about a wicket, though, isn't it? From New Zealand's point of view, that's all they're saying. If we can keep moving that run rate up a touch, doesn't have to be extreme, just a little bit here and there. Force a false shot. That's not one. That'll be 4. Excellent timing from AB de Villiers.
See you, mate.
Oh, Ollie's there. South Africa will feel in control. This is a beautiful shot, the first boundary in a long time, 20 overs in fact.
Oh, that'll be the second. Excellent. Lovely piece of timing from de Villiers. Good footwork.
Yeah, the thing to note here is he's just about playing Daniel Vettori as if the ball's just angling into him, looking to go leg side. You could say it's against the spin. Knowing Daniel Vettori bowling those sliders, it's a safe shot.
50 partnership of 70 balls. Lovely bowling, Vettori.
Yeah, Dan just changed the pace. 73 Ks. But what I loved was the way de Villiers played it. He just waited for it, and he just about played it as slow as it came down to him.
I think Vettori's probably tried that in the nets once or twice at Bangalore. His recent IPL. Slowly got back into his bowling. AB de Villiers, of course, in the Bangalore side that Vettori coaches.
All ball. Over, drinks.
So good over 4 South Africa, 10 runs coming from it, and after 37 it's 148 for 4, and we're going to have a drink. 83 required from 78 balls. The equation looks well in hand as far as South Africa are concerned. 2 key players, 2 very experienced players at the crease. 40 for the skipper and 20 for JP Duminy. Trent Bolt has picked up a couple of wickets. Vettori has been economical, as has Nathan McCullum. Anderson a wicket off 4 overs, and Neesham 1 very tidy over.
Waiting on.
James Neesham is a wicket taker. He'll give Brendan McCullum those options. but he needs to be consistent with it as well. If he misses short, De Villiers will put him away. McCallum's got to slip in, so there's plenty of gaps for De Villiers to pounce on anything short or wide.
There, cuz.
From South Africa's point of view, risk-free batting will get them there because they're up with the rate. New Zealand need to try and get 2 wickets in the next 5 overs or so to really get back into this contest.
In the air, Guptill dives past his right hand. Just off the edge of the bat.
That was an opportunity, a difficult one. JP Duminy tried to play that in the onside. Got a leading edge. Guptill just couldn't get there.
All the way into the gap. 4. Good timing.
Oh, it's too short on a slowish surface. AB de Villiers into position quickly. And he placed this pull shot to perfection. His timing was excellent.
It's that benefit of that balance. Gets set early, the ball's bowled, he's still, and he actually just transfers his weight. Such a strong puller of the ball.
Well, that's not the best shot I've seen him play today. Premeditated this one. Came down the wicket very early.
I suppose he was thinking, well, he's dropped short. He's not going to do it again. He's going to pitch it up, so I'll try and predict it.
Straight down the ground. Using his feet once again. 4 more.
Well, that's just brilliant. AB de Villiers at his very best, and that brings up a well-deserved half-century, leading from the front once again.
Well, again, being proactive, using his feet, looking to hit down the ground. The other thing is actually really tough. Last year you've had to bring an extra fielder inside the ring. Someone like AB de Villiers wasn't a problem when there were 5 fielders out for him to find the boundary, let alone now with only 4, because you're either going to have mid on or mid off up. He's always looking to go one side or the other. He's skilled enough he can do both, so it's a real challenge.
Single off the last ball of the over. 169 for 4.
Nathan McCallum's going to continue. He did him in the air, long way down. Probably had him outside off stump too, but again, a spinner from New Zealand taking the pace off the ball.
See you, lads. See you, boys.
That was good delivery. JP Duminy looking to use his feet at every opportunity. Let's try to play that 2 square on the leg side. Straighter would have been a better option.
Waiting now. I said, Jimmy. Good night, good
You can
night.
just see AB de Villiers right now. Nathan McCallum bowling, he's got to leave mid off up.
Put it up here, Nate. Come on.
Be the target for AB de Villiers. Nathan McCallum's trying to cut down the angle.
Lovely shot, that. Lovely shot through, extra cover for 4.
Too full, a little bit too much width off it as well. AB de Villiers playing that quite a long way away from his front foot, but weight transfer through the shot was beautiful. Kept his head in the shot.
He's just eluded Brendan McCullum there. He's gone the wrong way. Up a couple.
Good night.
He's going to be sore tonight, Brendan McCallum. He's been diving around on that used part of the wicket block. Looks like he got a big leg spin break on that one. And Nathan McCallum just starting to err a little bit in length. It just comes from the pressure that AB de Villiers is putting on him.
Very comfortable now from a South African point of view. Not taking any undue risk. They're just rotating the strike, picking up the boundary when opportunity presents itself. Very calm in the run chase.
Oh, we'll ball.
177 for 4.
Hold down. Nice, Dino. Good, Dino.
Just a little parry away from Dean Brownlee. It's all looking very comfortable for South Africa.
Good, Dino.
Too many risks taken.
Well, so far some positives for New Zealand. Luke Ronke's batting was superb, and after this over, Daniel Vettori, fingers crossed, has got through 10 overs.
We'll ball. Good stuff.
He's showing me that he's got all the skills still in the repertoire. He's got that lovely subtle changes of pace, so that's a good sign for New Zealand.
Very much so. Bowled beautifully, Daniel Vettori.
Lovely shot. Good use of the feet again, and 6 for JP Duminy. Beautifully played.
As good as it gets as far as JP Duminy is concerned. Nothing wrong with the delivery. Daniel Vettori held it back, changed the pace. But JP Duminy came down the wicket, waited for it, and just played a superb shot.
Down.
Through. You get it through that gap, you pick up 4. Just too much width. And Duminy was onto it in a flash.
The last couple of shots from Duminy have showed his class against spin. He was quick to get down the wicket to Vettori, and there rocking back, good footwork and good placement, using the pace on the ball. And the angle was right past Vittori's left.
Good placement, high enough, a couple of bounces and into the boundary ropes again. It's a bad finish to his bowling spell for McCullum. 195 for 4.
Well, they talk about a masterclass from AB de Villiers. JP Duminy has just played a secondary role, but he's just taken the heat off his skipper now. Brought the run rate required down with 2 very big overs in this partnership, now worth 98 in just 70 minutes.
Nathan McCullum's bowled his 10 overs, 10 overs, no wicket for 45. He went for 8 of his last 2 balls, so it was a good tidy spell.
Tommy, yes, Tommy! Tommy boy! Wait, mate!
But no wickets in the wicket column, and that's what you were talking about a little bit earlier, Stephen Fleming. It's so important for those spin bowlers to be wicket takers through the middle.
Well, if you look now, if it's 6 down, 200 for 6, you've got tail. There's some good tail end hitters, but you're into the tail that the players who aren't used to batting for periods of time. So the quicker you can get them in, the more pressure you can exert on them, it takes them out of that hitting zone where they only have to play one way. So if you can keep getting those wickets through the middle, and that is the challenge for Nathan McCullum on pitches that aren't turning, and Daniel Vettori, it's not easy when there's not much assistance for the spinners.
Exactly. When you're defending only 230, you bowl 20 overs for 88, which sounds good. But if you don't get anyone out, you can't stop them winning. So unfortunately for the New Zealand spinners, who in normal circumstances, if you're defending 260, 270, 280, did a very fine job.
Well, I look at what those two have done. Yeah, they've bowled their 10 overs. They've gone for 43 apiece, 45. It's exactly what they would want out of them come sort of World Cup time, you think about it, but they need more runs.
Well, I'd like to think 1 or 2 in the wicket column as well is going to be pretty important. Even if you've got 300 to defend, you still need to chip away at a couple of wickets.
Good, lads. Good stuff, boys.
Partnership between these two was brought up. 100 runs from 118 balls. They've done it so easily, with real control. A couple of very good operators. 65 for de Villiers from 72 deliveries, and JP Duminy 43 from 63.
Smith, you talked about your favourites or semi-final favourites for the World Cup next year. Interesting question for you. These two teams are very meticulous in their planning. You can see that with their fielding and their bowling plans. But I wonder, looking at the last couple of World Cups, in particular the last World Cup in Asia where India won, what is it within a team that's going to win it? Is it going to be individual brilliance? Is it going to be meticulous planning for one of these two teams? Australia, is it a mixture of both? Or is it the raw talent of a West Indies side when they finally come back to play, and then the Indian side or a subcontinent side, even if they're going to be playing in what are deemed foreign conditions? Now, I think that's levelled up with the amount of cricket that's played these days, but it's still somewhat foreign to the way they play in Asia.
Well, there's going to be a time when you've got to have a match winner. There's going to be games that are going to have to be won by a miracle performance by one or two people. Whether it's a great run chase or a devastating spell of bowling every now and then. You're going to have that kind of quality in the side. A mundane side who just is meticulous but without being sensational probably won't win the World Cup.
Well, you think back to 92, I know it's a long time ago, and Zamamo Hutt and Wazzy Makram.
Me and Dad as well.
Yeah, he chipped in, didn't he? Imran Khan.
And also the Sri Lankans, Jayas Surya and Murali and Aravinda, the way they played in the World Cup, especially at the top of the order.
201 for 4. And James Neesham opened the batting today. Got off to a nice start, didn't carry on. Can he do something magical, match turning?
I guess the point of my question is that if you take these two teams, what's it going to take for them to win the World Cup? And look at like a Martin Guptill, who it feels like he just needs to release the shackles and the handbrake and just express himself and find that form that and it's not easy, the form he had in England, where he's unbelievable. The same with Neesham. Meticulous planning goes so far, but then the ability just to let go and enjoy the moment of that tournament.
Yes.
I guess South Africa's not dissimilar. They're a very skilled side that have come up short in World Cups. How do they release themselves just to play with that freedom and that no fear? Is this led by de Villiers their time because of the way they're playing now and the skill set they've got within the side?
Yeah, well, I feel as that could be their time. Isn't it ironical to say that they never won it while Jacques Kallis was with them? And the moment he goes, they could end up winning it. I mean, they're capable of it because of the coaching powers that they've got within their ranks and the ability to knock sides over. I think the ability to take wickets with a very good pace attack will be crucial in Australia and New Zealand. That's beautifully played. It was so good. Cross to the offside. Neesham says, I might bounce you to make you feel uncomfortable, and in the end, de Villiers gets it nice and fine. It was clever.
Yeah, it might have looked like it was slightly out of control, but it wasn't. I think he knew he just had to get a little bit of bat on that, and it was going to fly away down there to find leg. A little bit of improvisation, but he watched it so well and just helped it on his way. There is such organisation about the way he plays those shots, which you might think are a little risque, but they're not. They're so well controlled.
Quite sure if Jimmy Neesham is on the same wavelength as Brendan McCullum here. Brendan McCullum's got 2 short catches on the offside. And Jimmy Neesham's bowling quite short, which is really taking all those players on the offside out of the frame. Whether he's now going to bowl something fuller and slightly slower to induce a mistake, we'll see, but trying to hatch something.
Oh, he's got him solidly there. He's run into that one. I think it's missed the padding. That would smart a little bit. I think he would have made his ground had it been a direct hit, had it hit the stumps. Oh, just above the thigh pad. The hip area. Nasty. Yeah, so in a way what you're saying there, Stephen, is it's hard to think your way alone to a World Cup. You need a little bit of just pure inspiration along the way somewhere.
Yes.
208 for 4.
Here's Mills back into the attack. He's bowled 7 overs, taken 1 for 33. Started a bit rough, a bit scratchy in his first over, but then found that consistency after that.
Well, one of the big points of interest I find in the IPL is when teammates go against teammates. Now, there have been a couple of instances where Dale Steyn is bowling the last over for his IPL side against AB de Villiers. And in some cases, they're needing in the 20s to win, and de Villiers will do it with a ball to spare, and they'll high-five and have a hug in the middle. But to watch teammates go against each other and almost for Steyn to realising how good de Villiers is, and that mutual respect is there, is one of the fascinating aspects. But it just showed to a lot of people just how good de Villiers was. With Steyn is one of the best in the world. De Villiers is sweeping him over point some stages, and reverse sweeps, and then he's lapping him, and then he's hitting him 10 rows back. No love lost during that competition, but the skill set of both players going at it was just marvellous to watch.
Which is the way you sort of sum up this run chase. At no stage of South Africa have to invent anything apart from orthodox cricket. They haven't had to reverse sweep. They haven't had to do anything Scoopy-like or anything outrageous to try and break the shackles. I mean, that's just orthodox cricket, and it's magnificent cricket at that.
It's a lovely cricket shot. And you're right, players are now conditioned to going for 15, 16 runs in the last few overs through 2020 cricket. So this type of chase, when they get down to that sort of equation, is not scary at all. Quality of shot making that we see now, the power of the bats, the boundary sizes, teams have just become so much more comfortable with chasing. And that is why you'll see a majority of teams these days just put teams in. They don't really look at the wicket that much unless it's bone dry. They tend to chase down scores.
Nice way to bring up your 50 as well, that shot. So JP Domini has 51 runs now. He's just picked up that strike rate as well. 51 from 70, a strike rate of 73. Played very much a supporting role to de Villiers, who I wouldn't say was taking the bull by the horns, but was just batting as he normally does. And he scored 73 from 77 and a strike rate of 95. Well, if New Zealand wanted a little bit of an exhibition of what it takes to be a quality one-day side, they've probably got it in watching this run chase. So the best players going.
Stop! Good man, ladies, boys.
That'll be cool.
Well, New Zealand have got 2 days to regroup if they don't get out of this and come up with a plan. Of course, they will not still have Ross Taylor.
Kate Williamson may be back. Still testing out his wrist. It's certainly Taylor out for the whole of the 3-match series.
Southey is close, wasn't he? So Southey might be a possibility. So they've got those options.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with the bowling attack. 216 for 4. Whether they allow the majority of the bowlers here today to rethink it, have another go. They probably won't tinker with the batting too much. Certainly there's a lot of bowlers in the squad. A lot of bowlers missed out for this game, so whether they just bring the other bowlers in for the next game or whether they give these guys an opportunity to maybe think about it, improve, and find out a way of taking more wickets through the middle.
Well, in essence, to beat South Africa, you're going to have to play well pretty much all day. And New Zealand have played well in the middle third of this game. It's going to run away for 4 because of the pace of which he got the bat through. The fast hands meant the ball would fly. It wasn't a quick delivery at any stretch of the imagination, but when you see just how hard he went at it, how fast the hands went through, that's why it flew away so quickly.
The other thing New Zealanders will look at that if they want to take something from this in terms of having a look at how the South Africans have gone about this. The South Africans have done this with 2. That'll be 4 more. It wasn't brilliantly timed. It was a little bit ugly for de Villiers, but he'll pick up 4. They're bringing this home quickly now. But one thing the South Africans have done is they've done this with 2 of their top 6. New Zealand only really started contributing from 7 down.
It's well bowled in the end. It deceived him, but the shot play after that was quite outstanding. Get a couple more. Let's finish this off. AB de Villiers. He's not going to leave anything to chance. Just 5 runs away now, South Africa, from going 1-0 up in this 3-match series. And they got it wrong with the ball towards the end of their bowling performance, but still managed to restrict New Zealand to 230. It's this man and his team that have got to make a significant improvement come Friday.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, you'd have to say New Zealand 40 short against a good side like South Africa. 230 might have been competitive, so they were lucky to get themselves up to that. They did well, but they would have had to bowl out of their skin to defend 230. So it's the batting that will take the blame for this one. 4 more. Fine enough and solid enough. It's just 1 run to win now. Scores are tied.
I guess you've got to look at it as a line in the sand for New Zealand. It's the first game of a big summer. I know they had a warm-up down against Scotland, I think it was, some of the squad, and they've been building to this, but it is a line in the sand. There were some positives which they'll reinforce.
That'll be it, and that'll be it in emphatic style. In the end, it's a comfortable victory with 2 overs to spare for the South Africans. They have chased down New Zealand's total of 230. They've done it for the loss of 4, and they've done it in clinical fashion from a team that just proved why it is so highly ranked in one-day international cricket.
And why they have got 3 or 4 players in the top 10 with the bat in the game, because they can get themselves out of situations and make it look so easy. AB de Villiers set a standard with this innings for me. Got through to 89 not out. JP Duminy knew he just had to make sure he was there with the captain at the end, whenever that was. And he knew at that point South Africa would quite clearly be the winners. 2 days for New Zealand to regroup and try and reassess how they go about trying to level this series. But it was all South Africa when it came to the crunch part of the game. They maintained enough wickets in hand to make sure that their 2 fine players in the form of de Villiers and Duminy would get them home in an unbroken partnership of 139 from 140. That was after a useful knock from Hashim Amla with 38 from 74. Useful contribution from Rousseau, who looks an exciting player. 8 extras in the process, beautifully paced through with 1.5 overs to spare and the loss of only 4 wickets. 236 the end result. New Zealand's bowling performance was honest. It was threatening at the start. Trent Boult 2 early wickets. Kyle Mills picking up a wicket as well. Vittori, a lot of interest in his performance. He was Daniel Vittori. They got to him a wee bit in his last spell. And Nathan McCullum as well. They bowled a lot of overs in tandem, mixed it up quite nicely, but unfortunately for New Zealand's cause, they couldn't do any damage in the wicket column. 20 overs between them for 88 on any normal day would be quite a nice return. Anderson, 6 overs, 1 for 31, missing out with the bat today. Jimmy Neesham, the experiment at the top of the order, started to look like it was a good one and then was cut off at the pass, and at the end he copped some punishment from JP Duminy. So Ronke was the hero for New Zealand, and along at the end with Trent Boult they managed to resurrect a pretty awful situation to the point where they challenged South Africa. New Zealand posting 230 after AB de Villiers asked them to bat first, and in reply South Africa 236 for 4. It's been a success today, really good success for cricket itself. Great to see us here in October, but South Africa, the visitors, quite clearly coming out on top. We'll see you Friday morning bright and early.
This has been a presentation of Fox Sports.